It seems there's a lot of guys out there that have this problem. They get a good pedal with the engine turned off. As soon as they turn the engine on, the pedal goes to the floor. And nobody seems to be answering this problem. Bleeding brakes, and you get a hard pedal, but then as soon as you turn the engine on, the pedal goes to the floor. What the heck is going on? So hi, I'm JoeStoe. Today I've got a tip for you. This is what I found. I had that problem. I went around, scoured the internet. I was on the various forums. Now I'm using working on a 1994 Chevy S10. You can see in some of my other videos. So the problem I had, bleeding the brakes over and over, and I spent a lot of time on this, going through a lot of brake fluid, and I would get a good pedal, pretty good pedal. Not a great pedal, but a pretty good hard pedal. But then as soon as I turned the engine on, the pedal would go to the floor when the brake booster was put into play. Now, I also had a little bit of problem with the ABS unit, so I just simply took the ABS unit out. Now, the first thing you want to check is obviously your brake booster. Check that. My booster was bad. It had a little bit of a leak, so it was really old and rusty, so I replaced the booster. But you know what? It didn't solve the actual problem that I had, which was the pedal goes to the floor when the engine is running. Well, now that's not a booster problem, and I knew that, but I had a bad booster anyway. It was leaking by doing the other booster tests. So what I did was, what they always say not to do, was I decided to, after going through days of bleeding brakes with the engine off, I decided to turn the engine on so that way I could get the benefit of a good booster. Now also the master cylinder was new. And I also had another one that I pulled out of the junkyard from that. The truck looked good and the brakes seemed to work in the junkyard. So I also had a second one that I was swapped out back and forth. I did bench bleed the master cylinder. I went through all the processes that you're supposed to go through. So the last ditch effort, I turned the engine on so that way I could bleed the brakes with the benefit of the booster, and I went around each wheel and I got a little bit more air out of the right rear, which is good. Then I got a good nice stream of fluid coming out of the bleeder and the right rear. Instantly noticed a better pedal. Okay, I'm on to something here. Went to the left rear wheel. I was getting tons and tons of air out. Just would not stop. Every time I was getting air out. Went on with that. The pedal was slowly getting a little bit better, but not great. So I decided, okay, well let me go see what the front wheels. And the front wheels were perfect. I got no air out of them because I had previously gotten the air out. So the front wheels weren't the problem. So I was able to isolate this, that it seemed to be a left rear wheel problem. A little bit more bleeding, trying to get the air out, still have the engine running. You know, it's just, I'm just getting air every single time. Like the wheel cylinder is actually sucking air in. Well, that was the problem. So what I did was I just went down to AutoZone, got a new wheel cylinder. They're real cheap for the S10s. And here's the old one. And yes, I did have, I put grease around the bleed fitting so that way I was sure I wasn't sucking any air in. Put the new wheel cylinder on, solved the problem. Now this wheel cylinder was not leaking, and I had gone around the car several times checking all of my connections, all the connections, you know, and I took the drums off and made sure that the wheel cylinders were not leaking. I had no leaks, nothing was leaking fluid, but even though it doesn't leak fluid, doesn't mean it can't suck air in. So I think what it was doing was on the one piston on the one side of the wheel cylinder, I think as it was coming out, that because these are so old, I don't know if they're the originals or not, but because they're so old, I can feel a little play in that piston. It was probably sucking air in. So when I released the brake pedal, as soon as I put the new wheel cylinder on, bled the brake again, I did it with the engine running. Instantly, I got a good pedal. Test drove the car, drives great, stops nice and straight. Everything seems to be working. Now, I went all over the internet. I was looking at all the different forums, even some of the stupid ones, and I just could not find the answer for this. It seems there's a lot of guys out there that have this problem. They get a good pedal with the engine turned off. As soon as they turn the engine on, the pedal goes to the floor. And nobody seems to be answering this problem. So if this video helps you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell so that way you'll be notified when I come out with some new videos.